Hello and welcome. Andrew Peters here with episode 2 for the special package that was made available for trading in 2018. In this episode we're going to link the controller to the trade manager and then let the trade manager manage the EAs according to whether the market is suitable or unsuitable for the EAs. In the previous episode we linked the controller directly to the EA. So if this is the first one you've seen, I suggest you look at the first episode first to see how to load up all the EAs and set files and also how to use it in probably the simplest manner. Before we go on, I need to offer this disclaimer. Pause the video if you need to read it. And just to remind you that these are the items that are in that part of that special package, that if you joined up before Christmas, you would be able to use all of these trading tools and set files, plus others that I'll be providing for the year, for all of 2018 just for $100. But this is not a commercial, so let me move on. Episode 2, as I said, is all about linking the controller to the trade manager to manage the EAs, which is different from episode 1, where we linked the controller to the EA itself. That is EAs which had been modified with a signal code that is used by the controller, and that is available for the FX Auto Trader EAs and the VFX London Breakout EAs, an EA that was available for free from the net and that I modified with the special code. So let's move to our platform and see how we go. Okay, so here we are on our IC Markets demo platform that I used before, and as you can see we've got our experts, the three trading tool, the three EAs that we were provided with in the special package: the Trade Manager, the Auto Trader, and the London Breakout. And up in the Indicators folder we have loaded the controller in both the Moving Average version and the RSI version. So to start with, we need to set up again our 3 charts for running the EAs, and then we'll set up an additional 2 charts, unlike the first video example, in which we place the trade managers and which will then do the controlling. But let's take it step by step. So I'm going to do this on the USD CHF pair, for which I provided the set files in the special package. So we create a new chart, the USD CHF, and we can maximize that. I don't like the grid, and I like it looking like so. And obviously you can set that as a template for yourself, but this is let's just do the basics. So here is our first chart, and on the first chart we put the controller version of the EA. So we need to double click on the Auto Trader Elite, and then we load, and then which takes us to the folders. We need the EA presets. There is one for the USD CHF, and there's a set file for the controller version of the EA, and we tick that one, double click that one, and as you can see it does hedging is allowed if you're running in the US. You can set that to false, but this is the magic that we're running on, 48.23.10. It has a take profit of 60, a stop loss of 50, and you can look at the other settings for you if you want to. It's got a break even at 25, saving 10, and a trading stop starting at 30 and trading by 20 with a 2 pip step. And the order comment that you'll see once the trades are placed will be this order comment here, FXAE version 48. So we do need to enter our email address, which I won't do on this one. So I'll click OK. You'll get that warning which will alert you to adding the address. I'll just click OK for this point in time. And now we need 2 more charts and 2 more copies of the EA. So let's do that first. another USD CHF, and get rid of the grid, bar chart, enlarge it, shift it. Again, we double click the AutoTrader Elite EA, we load EA preset files, USD CHF, and this one we want to, this will be our normal chart. So let's double click that, and as you can see, we actually in this case want this EA, we don't want the controller to control this particular chart because we're going to use the trade manager to do that. So all we do for here is double click and hit delete, and that field is now empty, so the controller is no longer able to control this version of the EA. We've labeled it initial magic number preceded with a 6, and then 482310 is as before, but this way we recognize that this is again the normal version, and as you can see all the settings are the same. We do need to add the email address, so that's done. We now need one more, so again we open another chart, get rid of the grid, and we'll double click on the AutoTrader Elite, we load, we go to the EA preset files, USD CHF, and this time we want to put in the reverse. And again, at this case, we don't want this to be controlled, so we double click and delete that. You can now see we're still hedging is true, but you see in this one the reverse entry is set to true as well, which it wasn't before. So this EA is going to invert, either reverse or invert the trades, so a buy becomes a sell and a sell becomes a buy. I therefore label this with a 9 rather than a 6. After all, a 9 is the upside down version of a 6. A bit quirky, but kind of works. These ones will trade at least, I like to set it at least 5 times the controller chart, because this is where we want to make our money. But this size then really depends on how big your account is and what sort of risk level you want to take. If you set a risk percentage, you can do so, and whatever you set here will override whatever you have in the initial lot size. So if you want to trade by a fixed lot size, which is what I want to do, then I enter that value there, and I make sure that the risk percent is set to 0. Normally what I do is once my account has grown, if the account has doubled, then I'll manually change this to a 0.1. But anyway, whichever way you want to do it, and what you'll find in the trade comment when a trade is taken, you'll see this comment here, so it'll have the reverse sign and you'll know which one is trading. Okay, I think that's all we need. So this one that one we've had to empty. Everything else looks fine, so we do the email address, which I won't do, and then we're right. So we've now got 3 charts, 1, 2, 3, all running the USD CHF, and this is our controller chart. Now this controller chart, if you wanted to, you could set this up on a separate MT4 platform altogether, and then it'll communicate, and then you would put the second 2 EAs or copies of the EAs on your live platform or your other platform. But I like to run them all in the same one, so let's keep with that. We now need to add the controller to this first chart. So we're using the MA version. Double click that. As that comes up, I've noticed that this thing is unticked, and you must make sure that under the Common tab that Allow DLL Imports is allowed, because it uses a FX Blue Quick Channel DLL in order to do the communicating between the controller and the trade manager. Then we go to Inputs and we load, go to the controller presets folder, MA based, into USDHF, and we want to do it for the normal. So let's double click that, and now we can see that the indicator mode is signal, the reverse signal is false. We're doing this on the normal way. The ID number is S for signal, 6 for that we want that it's connected to the normal version, and this little strategy is a comment that'll appear on your indicator window just to remind you as to what it is that you are monitoring. You're monitoring the performance of the standard EA, the 48-23-10, and we are using a period 5 to start with. This is the moving average period. Once you've got 20 or 30 trades, it's probably better to change this to something like 10 or 20. But at the start, let's use 5. Again, if you didn't want the trade manager to be operating, we could set that to false, and then in this particular case, the trade manager would actually be operating. It would essentially stop the normal version and the reverse version from trading until you've made 5 trades on this copy. Then the moving average can be calculated, and then the controller can see whether the performance is above its moving average, in which case you want the normal to be trading well, or if it's fallen below its moving average, it means it's in a downtrend and you'd prefer to have the reverse version trading. But so let's set this to true and let's get things going straight away. I just want to double check that my still allowing the DLL imports. That's good. So if we now click OK, I do need to add the email address, but now we see that we've got it here. We've got the controller, period 5. It's monitoring for version 28.3.10 and normal. And you can make that a bit smaller if you wanted to. So that one's in place. Now we need a second copy of this to do the reverse. So we double click again. And this time we load. Again, we load the controller presets from the EA controller, USD CHF, and we want to do the reverse. And so it's again a signal mode, but this time, as you can see, the reverse signal is set to true because we want to operate this in the exact opposite way. And here is a mistake, and I've left this in purposely for this video. But if you've been following Donna Forex Forum, you will have been alerted to the fact that a couple of the presets had a few glitches in it. So because we are doing the reverse, this 6 should be a 9. So if we double click and then just click on there, we can backspace, we can make that a 9, and now it's the 9:48:23:10 reverse, which is what we want. It's still monitoring because we're doing the monitoring on the controller area, so it's still monitoring 48:23:10, and we're still trading at start true and doing it for 5. Now we've made that change. Let's also quickly check that allow imports, and it's not, so let's make sure we have that ticked. Go back to inputs. Now we want to save this one, and that was in the controller presets. It was this one, and it was that fellow there. So the file name is controller reverse, so we want to save it, but it says I already have one, and you say yes, I know, but it was wrong, so I fixed it, so I do want to replace it, so I click yes. So now we've got the correct version in. So if you see anything wrong, it's easy to change, and just make sure you save that change. So this is going to be the crucial thing that we are going to need, but let's just first set this up. So we now click OK. I haven't entered the email address, which I would need to do, and click OK. And so now we've got here the reverse version on our chart as well. I can just reduce these a little bit. At the moment there's nothing to show because obviously there's no trades being taken, so it can't show anything. But these two are the crucial elements that we have that we need to link to the trade managers. In order to have a trade manager operating, it needs to be operated from a chart. So we can open any chart, but let's keep it all in the same family. So let's open another USD CHF chart. In this case then I like to leave it visually like this, so I can always remind myself that this is a chart on which I'm placing the trade manager. Now the trade manager we will find under the expert advisor folder, and it's a trade manager version 13. So I double click that, and again we can now load, and now we're loading the trade manager presets, trade manager version 13, and we want to load the normal, so the trade manager to manage the normal chart, and that's looks like the right one there, so we double click that. Again, email address we need to enter. Now it's signal 6 and that normal. What we now need to make sure is that this ID, so let's right click and copy, and we'll keep that in for the moment, and I'll show you what we do with it. You can see that this is now set for, we're managing a specified pair. We manage this pair, USD CHF. Now if your market watch or your symbol window had USD CHF .cx or .pro whatever, then you need to make sure that that's what you enter into this field here. So this symbol must be exactly the same as this symbol here, including it's case sensitive. We don't want to manage all pairs, we want to manage by magic number, so it's been set to true, and the magic number that we want to manage is the 648, not the 4823 because that's our controller. The 6 is our normal. So that's all set, and the rest is all pretty easy. Now in this particular one, as you might remember that the normal version of the EA is set to have a take profit of 60, and I've put in here 40 because the reverse, and again I could make this false, but I just want to be a bit conservative. If it reaches 40, I'll be happy to take that trade. Remember that this is going to only operate, the trade manager will only operate when the market is in downtrend, and so if we do get a downtrend and we're still trading this, then as long as this EA gets to 40, at least we're going to get a win. The loss target is set to 10, and so instead of, as in the previous video where we totally switched off an EA when we went into downtrend, in this case we're getting the trade manager to put a much tighter stop loss. The normal stop loss is 50 for this particular set file, but we're going to make it 10. So that means if this thing does trade during a downtrend, it'll quickly be stopped out. In other words, you won't lose much money. But if the trade turns on its head and unexpectedly actually goes the way we were hoping it would, we won't hit the stop loss, and we may well hit the 40 pip profit target. So instead of it being a zero trade or no trade at all, we're either going to lose 10 or we're going to make 40 pips in profit, or whatever the break-evens are on the EA itself. And so all the rest we're not making use of, so they're all set to 0. So let's click this OK. I should have added the email. Now let's just go back. So this trade manager, as you can see here, it says you need to add the email address. This trade manager, DIY Trade Manager Plus, is managing the trade on this one, but the controller that it's linked to is this one here. And in order to double check on that, if we right click, go to indicator list and go to the first controller, which is the this one here. What I said before, that this ID number here must be exactly the same. So if I do a right click, remember that I copied the ID number from the trade manager. If I were to paste this on here, again I'd have the same ID number now that I had on the EA. So let's do that, and let's click OK, and let's bring this one in. So I need to do, let's close this. Let's now go to add the second. So this was the first copy of the trade manager. Let's now open a second copy. So trade manager, we load, we go to trade manager presets, and this time we want to do the reverse. And we can see one mistake here already, that the reverse one I've actually accidentally labeled that a 6. So that should be a 9 in our convention. So now we've got the trade manager as 9 48 23 10, which is the one that we load. Double click, and I've had the same mistake here. So if we're looking at this one, it says reverse, but it has a 6 in it, and yet it's a reverse. So double click, backspace, 9, and that's the 9 48 23 10 and 9 48 23 10. Again, we've got the same kind of settings for this as I showed before. And so let's do the same as we did before. Double click and then do a right click and copy. And we're going to copy this to the controller. So let's click. I should actually save this now. First of all, let's make sure that our common add, these are all, we have to click that. We need to allow DLL imports. So let's now save. And it was in this one here, and it was for that one. Let's save it. Click yes, and then click OK and email address. So this second trade manager needs to be linked to this reverse. So let's do a right click, indicator list, second controller, and here we see S. We actually have the right one, but you can always double check. So if I double click and copy what I did from before, as you can see it's exactly the same. And remember, this is the true one. Let's just double check the comma. We have all that fixed. So I haven't changed anything here. So I can click OK. And we can close that. Now I just paused the video for a while and had a quick look at this trade manager, because I noticed that this one may also have had something with it. So if we go back to this trade manager, do a right click, expert advisor, properties, and we're working all of this, which is all fine, but I just double checked on the common and I noticed that the DL imports wasn't ticked. And again, we need that in order for it to operate. And so it's a good habit to always just double check that these four boxes are all ticked. And so let's again save that. Future, they were in TM preset. And this was the normal one. So let's save that. Yes, we know it exists, but it didn't have the right settings. And so now we've saved all the correct versions. I can click OK with the email address. Okay, so now we've got what I call the controller EA with the two EA controllers. One for the normal and one for the reverse. We have a chart which runs the EA in the normal fashion, so a buy is a buy and a sell is a sell, but the lot size is at least 5 times larger than on our first chart. We have a second or the third chart which has the same EA, but this one is trading a buy is a sell and a sell is a buy, so it's trading exactly the opposite manner. And then we have one trade manager to control the normal, and we have one trade manager here which controls the reverse. So let me just pause and set up these charts. Okay, so I've just tiled these windows, and let me now do this to hopefully make it a bit simpler. So we can explain what's going on. So this one here is our controller chart, which I said could be on a different platform, but we're running it on the same platform this time. We've got our two controllers. Now the normal controller for the normal controls the operation of the trade manager, and this trade manager controls the trading on this version, the normal version of the EA running here. The second controller, the reverse, controls the trade manager set for the reverse, and this trade manager will now manage the trades for the reverse. Okay, and just to show this for a real situation, this is showing it on the Euro USD M15, one of the other set files that I run. So this is the controller chart, as you can see, and we've traded for a while, and we can see that the EA is currently in downtrend. The market isn't suitable for these particular settings, and so both the normal and the reverse controller will be obviously look the same because they're monitoring the same trades. But what we now need to look at, so the normal, we don't really want to be trading the normal, and so if we look at the trade manager for that, which is this one here, and we'll see how long that takes to load. My internet's very slow at the moment. We can see that the moving average trace signal is no. Now we've got to be, it gets a little bit confusing at times about the trade manager, but if you think about it this way, if the market's favorable and the EA is in an uptrend, then you don't want the trade manager to be taking any action. So it would show, normally it would show a yes, and that means a trade manager is inactive. It'll just run on there. However, in this case, the market is not favorable for this strategy, and so it has signaled a no, up here, and that means the trade manager is now going to be active, and it will therefore now apply the stop loss of 10 pips to this normal trade. So this one is controlling the normal version of the EA. On the other hand, the trade manager that is controlling the reverse entry version, okay, here we go. You can see that it is signaling a yes. So when this signals a yes, it's telling the trade manager everything is fine. We want this trade to be trading in the reverse mode because the market is not favorable, and therefore it's more likely that the reverse entry trade will be profitable. And so this yes is what we want, because after all, as I showed you before, This is trading the, may not, too slow. This one is trading the reverse version. It's controlling the reverse trading version. So what you'll see when you're running the system is that one trade manager will be showing a yes, and sometimes this will disappear for a bit depending on the connectivity, but generally one will be showing a yes and one will be showing a no. Okay, so to recap, to trade this manner, and we need to do this with each particular EA, we need 5 charts, one for the controller version with the two versions of the controller, one for normal, one for reverse. We need a chart which runs the normal version at 5 times the lot size. We need a chart to run the reverse trade, sells equals buys and buys rather than sells. And then we need 2 charts with trade managers, one to manage the normal version of the EA, and the second trade manager to manage the reverse version of the EA. And these trade managers are switched on and off by the controllers that you've placed on the controller chart. Now I've provided 3 EAs with this package, so you could load each of these as I've done and you'd have 15 charts open. I've actually got the one I was showing you, I've actually got 5 EAs running this way, so that's 25 charts that are open. And then normal MT4 can handle that okay, because not each chart isn't active at the same time, and so 25 to 30 charts on a platform is quite doable. I know people run up to 60. It does obviously depend on your VPS, or if you're running it on your home computer, but that's all quite feasible. And obviously if you want to run more EAs this way, then you can always split your account into 2 and run 2 separate MT4s and run excuse me, half of them on one and half on the other. And lastly, I just wanted to show you one thing that you can use with the controller. So on the chart, say for the normal EA, if you want to see the progress of this, obviously you can link your account to a MyFXBlue or an FXBlue publisher EA to monitor, but you can also use the controller as a on-chart monitor. So if we double click on this chart and we just leave the select mode as is, in other words, don't double click, don't select one of these, just leave it at select mode. Add your email address, make sure this is left blank. Here you can, for yourself, you can just confirm for yourself that this is the normal version. Here, magic number, we know this one is 6482310. Let's leave the rest. Doesn't really matter here. But now this controller is not in any way controlling anything. We haven't selected the mode, so this is an inactive controller, but it will show up the trades. So just make sure I've got imports allowed, and then I should have added the email address, of course. Click OK. And what you'll see as you start trading this one and these trades come, you'll see a chart of the close profit loss with a moving average bar, as I showed you on the on my other account. So you can set that up on this one as well, and then you'll be able to actually very quickly see whether the reverse version or the normal version is in profit or not. So it's quite a handy tool, and you can use that on any EA that you have. As I said, indicator list, controller, just make sure that you leave it in select mode and that you make sure that the ID number field is left blank, and that you've got the, if your EA has 2 or 3 magics, just enter them here, but most only have 1, so just enter that one, and then that will, on this little indicator window, you'll see a chart of the performance of the EA. Okay, so that concludes episode 2, linking the controller to the trade manager as the second way of managing an EA. And it can be used with the FX Order Trader EAs, the FX London Breakout, and more importantly, perhaps if you have an EA that doesn't have the signal code, then obviously this is the way to manage those sorts of EAs if you wanted to use the controller to trade it with this system. I'll do some more videos of different ways of still using these products, but in the meantime, that's it for now. If you have any questions, please contact me at info@DIYForexSkills.com. And if you are interested in all of this, please register with the Donna Forex forum and the EA controller thread on that forum. And you'll be notified of any postings that I make or that anyone who's using these products are making. Thanks for watching. Over and out.